Welcome to another Cash Practice Training Tuesdays. Welcome back to the real world, if there is such a thing. But after Labor Day, hopefully you all watching this now live or on the replay, let me know if you did get a little bit of rejuvenation over the weekend. I ended up working almost the whole time because we're launching a new business right now. But typically, I really do take advantage of those weekends, I promise. So today, we are going to get into a question that came up, as usual with these, in my mastermind group coaching call, which we have every Tuesday at noon. There's always so many great questions that come up, and I'll just pick one of those to present to you guys here. And today's question came up from someone saying, look, I now and again, I get an email from someone who's a prospective patient, and their primary question, or maybe their only question in that email, are what are your rates? What's your fee for service? Whatever you want to frame that, but how much do you charge, basically? Now, in this video, I'm going to tell you the short answer to that, and then the long answer details on how to play that out in a skillful way. The short answer is get them on the phone. And I'll tell you exactly how I do that and what to do on the phone here in a moment. But the idea here is that if they're a prospective patient, they don't have a relationship with you first. Most of the time, people are kind of just trained and ingrained that when it comes to healthcare, you look at insurance coverage and cost up front first. And they actually don't even know most of the time what their true cost is going to be somewhere that does take their insurance. But when they know that you don't take their insurance or you're not billing their insurance, then that becomes an even bigger focus in their mind. But we as business owners need to make sure that we don't get into that conversation any sooner than we have to, and especially not before we've had an actual conversation with the person for a few reasons. And one of them is just to make sure that we actually can be a good fit for their needs. And in most cases we will be, but it's not being dishonest to say, let's hop on the phone so I can first make sure we're a good fit for your needs. Because sometimes, I have those conversations all the time where I'm like, I really think that you need this, or maybe you need to go see this person first, or maybe we can get started, but I also want to make sure that you get this person involved, or maybe get this imaging done. So having that conversation ahead of time is really important for that reason, but also because just in the way that we make decisions about purchases, 80% of that decision has something to do with how much we know, like, and trust the person we're about to spend money with, or the product we're about to spend money on, or the person that's selling that product. And if somebody doesn't have an experience of you or your brand, or has not been in before, and they're just going to get an email reply, then I can guarantee you that know, like, and trust is not high enough for most people at that point to say yes, especially if insurance isn't involved and there's a potential higher cost out of pocket, at least up front. So I typically will reply to that question with something along the lines of that, our prices vary widely depending on the variety of services that we offer. It would be a lot more efficient to give you the details of that over the phone. Also, we really like to have a conversation with all our prospective patients first to make sure that we're going to be a perfect fit for their needs. And if they write back and say, no, give me the pricing, then I give them the pricing, and I know that probably the chance of converting that person is not going to be very high. But most people are open to that, and they will be open to the idea of, getting the details over the phone. And, when I start that conversation, I do want to acknowledge, I know that you wanted to know about pricing. And like I said, we have a few different services, so the prices vary, timeframes vary, and I will get into that with you. But like I said, also via email, I first want to make sure that we're a good fit for your needs. So can you tell me a bit more about what has you seeking therapy, or whatever your service is when you're talking to them? Tell me a bit more about what compelled you to reach out, so I can make sure we're going to be the right fit for what is going on. Hey, Stephen commenting here, hey neighbor, it's awesome. Stephen is a good friend of mine, wonderful colleague, and we've always been pretty close in our clinic locations, but now we could literally walk to each other's clinics, so it's always fun to see him on here. Anyhow, so you start with that part of the conversation of acknowledging, hey, I know that this is what you're asking about, and we're going to get to that, but let's first talk about what you're dealing with so I can make sure that we're a good fit for your needs. And I really like that because subconsciously now they are or consciously, but usually subconsciously at least, it's kind of that hard to get thing. It's like, oh, well, now I want to be a good fit for your needs, or I want y'all to be a good fit for my needs. Like, and it's almost like they're hoping and they're compelled to, kind of plea their case for why we would be a good fit and a good way to, a good way of them getting better. And so that kind of frames them in a certain way and opens them up to talking about what they're dealing with. And that is really, really key, because then you're going to not only get the details clinically that you might want, or your staff, is getting those details if they're the one on the phone. So you can kind of start to get an idea of what's going on, but you're also getting them to voice their concerns, the emotional pain points that are associated with this pain, how it's limiting them from doing the things that they really want to get back to or that they're limited in. And then you can also say, I know, this is how you're limited, and if I could snap my fingers and take this away right now, what would your day-to-day activities, right now you said you can run 2 miles 3 times a week, and you'd like to be able to run 5 miles 3 times a week. But like, if this were really like gone, no problem at all, is that all you'd want to do? Or would you like to be able to do marathons again or whatever? I just want to know, even if it feels kind of pie in the sky right now, I'd love to know what like your dream goals would be for getting past this thing. And then sometimes that opens them up. They're like, oh, wow, I haven't really thought about that. Like, a lot of times people have been dealing with something for 20 years. They're like, man, I'd just love to be able to walk a mile without pain. I'm like, yeah, but if we could totally get rid of that, like, would you want to run again? Like, yeah, okay. Well, I obviously can't guarantee anything, but we really like to know, my staff and I, we really want to know what would really make this an absolute home run for you before we even get started. And that, all these you're pushing all these subconscious buttons. So then at that point, you can discuss the price if you want to get back into that. Or what I like to do is say, there's 2 ways we could actually get started. We have a free consultation that's about 15-20 minutes where we can actually have a personal look at what's going on and decide if it is what we talked about before, this versus that, right? We won't get all the details in that short assessment, but we'll get enough to be able to tell how we're going to move forward and likely how many sessions it would take to get you back to XYZ goal, right? Always bringing it back to the goals or to get rid of the inability to do XYZ, limitation, right? So always bringing it back to those things. So you can do that, we'll get an idea, and at the end of that, we can be totally sure that we're going to be able to help, and then you can then make an educated decision on if you think we're the ones that are going to be a best fit for your needs, and decide if you want to become a patient at that point. Or if you want to get treatment in that first session, you really know this, you're totally confident that we're going to be able to get you to XYZ goal. Great. A lot of our patients start that way as well. And we can set up a full hour, full evaluation and get in a lot of treatment in that first session. Do you have a preference on how you'd like to start? Right now, depending on what they do, if they go right into, I want to get treatment right away, blah, 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 go ahead and try to get the appointment booked if they don't bring the pricing up again. But you got to remember to bring the pricing up again. Or if they ask, do you take my insurance, and you kind of diverted their attention, got through this conversation, you got to come back to the insurance question too. Don't forget that. I've done it, and I did it once, and the person came in not knowing, I just got excited and I forgot. And it was unfortunate because he got really pissed off when he came in and he thought that we were in network with Blue Cross, and it's never happened since then because that happened once and I felt terrible about it. So make sure you do come back to that initial question, even if you get them booked. But the more yeses, the longer you can keep on the phone, the more you can get them talking about the issues, talking about their goals, and the more yeses, even micro yeses, that they verbalize, or in saying, yes, here's my information, here's my email, I'm booked. Like, all of these things get them closer to a point where they're less likely to do away with that appointment and say, no, I can't do it, when you do talk about price or about insurance, right? So get those yeses, take them through the whole process as far as you can before you come back to that question. And then in that case, we've got them booked and say, look, I know initially you would ask my email, and we talked early on about pricing. Let me tell you about those services now. So, and of course, some clinics have a lot of services, like my buddy Steven, who's here live. They've got full on, not just Pilates programs, but gyrotonics is a whole other thing. And, all the different therapeutic options, and I don't know if they do needling, but however you slice it and dice it, you might have a lot of offerings and different price points, or you might keep it quite simple and it's just, an hour with us is 185 and half hour is 125. And that's typically what I say. So when I'm pre-framing them, I usually don't say we have a wide variety of services and so the prices can vary. I just say the prices can vary based on service and what you need. So why don't we get on the phone so I can give you the details of that and figure out what's going on. So, for us, it's 185 for the full hour sessions and 125 for half hour sessions. Pause. You got to pause and let them speak next. And you got to say it confidently. Don't say it don't go straight into, and we do that because blah, blah, and we can give you one-on-one care and blah, blah, and immediately qualifying why it's so much. Because for some people that might be a lot, for some people it might not be much at all, and they're like, wow, that's better than I expected, So don't go into qualifying it unless they respond in a way that you feel like you need to then address that objection and talk about why it's worth that much. Then you can go into, if you haven't already, mentioning the components that make you different, right? Your results-oriented approach, one-on-one care, whatever it is that makes you different from the insurance-based options in the area. So therefore, because we take this approach, we typically only see people one time a week, and we need far fewer visits than your traditional physical therapy clinic, where they're going to be having you do a bunch of stuff that you could be doing on your own time, often with a bunch of people around you being treated by the same tech or a system. So you can make that differentiation point at that time if there is a need to do so, but don't immediately go into that as a qualification for why your rates are what they are, right? And then if they're really pushing on, well, maybe I need to go the insurance route, you can get into the conversations we've talked about here in live, and I talk about it all the time in Mastermind, on guiding them on exactly what they need to ask their insurance company to figure out their true costs, and how to explain to them how things in the last 5 or 10 years have gotten very different, that people sometimes actually pay less by going out of network, depending on the situation. If they have a high deductible or high copays, they don't need a ton of care, you might be able to knock it out faster and cheaper by going out of network for certain situations. And that can only be determined by figuring that out, talking to the insurance company, and figuring out what your true costs are going to be. What your costs are going to be with us, but if you go in network, what are those true costs going to be? And keeping in mind, they're probably going to want to see you more frequently and for a longer period of time than coming to see us. So again, you can get into all that, and you can watch this over and over again and write all those down and have your kind of, not script, but your kind of guidelines. It's really important, but you don't always have to if you've done the first part right and really taken them through that kind of emotional journey of focusing on what's going on and proving to them, not proving, but giving them the strong idea that, yes, this guy knows what I'm talking about. This guy has helped, or this group has helped, with this all the time, because you verbalize, we help with this all the time. It's probably this and that. It's often missed in other places because they don't look from head to toe, whatever the case may be. But you're really giving them that idea that this can be helped at a higher level and faster than, with these guys than with someone else. So if you do the front part right, you don't necessarily have to do any of the qualification stuff, but you have that in your back pocket to explain the situation and, make sure that they're asking the right cost questions. If they're really focused on cost and they need to know their true costs up front before they make a decision, you can guide them on that as well. In fact, in my mastermind group, we have a huge resources part of our website, and one of those resources is the exact questions that I'll send to prospective patients to ask their insurance company to figure out their true cost, and also some questions to ask of in-network PT options so they can get an idea of the level of care that they would likely be getting. The ability to access those resources and access me and get weekly coaching and a private Facebook group, you can find all that at drjarodcarter.com/mastermind. We just had a good handful of people join us over Labor Day weekend. Really excited. A lot of great things happening, from full transitions out of network and just killing it in like less than a month, and just going fully cash pay to people who started right before or right after the pandemic started, and they're kicking butt. And even in the midst of all this craziness, they've got full schedules, or they're ramping up very quickly. So a lot of great things happening in the mastermind. If you'd like to join us and get this kind of coaching on a regular basis and really shorten your path to your practice goals, let us know. We'll see you in there. drjarodcarter.com/mastermind. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday.